You're on the Spot with Mande Wilkes.
Welcome to On the Spot. I'm Mande Wilkes. Let's talk presidential politics today. All right, just this past Tuesday, fiscally liberal and socially conservative Rick Santorum came this close to beating fiscally liberal and socially liberal Mitt Romney in the Iowa caucuses. Now, clearly, the Conservative Party, the Republican Party, has way too little conservatism on the fiscal side and way too much conservatism on the social side. Now, if there's anything that I was always taught the Republican Party was supposed to be about, it's fiscal, economic conservatism, fiscal restraint. But that's the opposite of what we've seen in the past few decades. What we've seen is this huge surge in social conservative policies. Now, that's, of course, it could be argued whether that's good or bad, but what's been kind of the outcome is that social conservatism has eclipsed fiscal conservatism, and it's come, it's bankrupted not only our families, but also our country. So basically, what does it mean to be a social conservative? It means, well, gays are the devil, and marijuana is the devil, and Facebook is the devil. That's kind of the social conservative platform. Now, for somebody like Rick Santorum, that really goes triple. And he's been really, really vocal about what he calls family values, which is supposed to be kind of the bedrock of social conservatism. Now, to me, family values doesn't have anything to do with, gays being the devil or Facebook being the devil. Family values has to do with three basic things. The first thing, educational security. Now, there was a recent report I came across that showed that almost 75% of America's top 100, or I should say bottom 100 public schools are right here in South Carolina. Now, you can't pretend to care about family values if you don't support homeschooling, school choice, school vouchers, that kind of thing. So, everybody talks a lot about saving our public school system. Well, my husband and I are preparing to start a family soon, and I don't know about you, but I'm not willing to let my kidlets be the sacrificial lambs while we're, going through this, hullabaloo and paying lip service to school reform. Meanwhile, schools in South Carolina especially, are worse than ever, clearly. So anybody running for office who tells you they care about family values, you know what, they better care about school choice, homeschooling, school vouchers, because educational security is really such a profound part of what it means to value families. Family values is about valuing families. Now, the second part of a system that values families is economic security. The big thing here is take-home pay. So much we hear about tax cuts, we're going to cut your taxes, but usually when an official tells you they're going to give you a tax cut, what they mean is that they're going to do a tax swap. Remember back in 2006 when the South Carolina legislature said that they were going to get rid of property taxes for the home you live in? Well, they did that, but then they turned right around and raised the state sales tax from 5% to 6%. So that's not a tax cut, that's a tax swap. And that's what we see so much of, and it's hurting the take-home pay for families. Take-home pay is hugely important because it's what lets families save for college, but it's also, and I think this is more important, it's what lets families raise their kids rather than having to outsource childcare. Take-home pay, so hugely important, and that's really the second part, economic security, the second part of what it means to value families rather than just paying lip service to whatever it means by family values. Now, the third layer in a system that values families is health security. I think the foundation of this is repealing the individual mandate required under the Obamacare law. Because what the individual mandate does is basically lower the take-home pay for families. See, we're connecting the dots here. So basically, a family under the Obamacare individual mandate has to, I think starting this year, buy insurance for every member of that family regardless of risk or health or anything else. Now, that means that family has less take-home pay, and what does less take-home pay lead to? It leads to a family so hamstrung by this individual mandate, by this kind of step to socialized medicine, that they can't afford things like gym memberships, sports activities, healthy food. and then you have no health security at all, and then you do have families relying on the socialized health care system, and it's a slippery slope, and we're slipping fast. And so, the third part of a system that values families rather than just paying lip service to family values is health security, food security, that kind of thing, and that really starts and ends with this repeal of the Obamacare individual mandate. So those are my 3 layers of what it means to be valuing families and not just talking about family values like Rick Santorum has been doing. So family values doesn't have to do with, gays being the devil or marijuana being the devil or Facebook being the devil. That Santorum style family values is kind of more about dictating what families should do rather than fostering a nation where families can really make choices for themselves and prosper. Now, what's interesting is, and I wish I would have printed this to read word for word, what better indication that Rick Santorum doesn't understand family values than his own family, his nephew, writing a letter into the Daily Caller, publishing a letter to the Daily Caller about why he's not and nobody should vote for his uncle, Rick Santorum. You can look that up on the dailycaller.com, but it's really interesting. Rick Santorum's nephew, I think he's 19 years old, said that nobody should vote for Rick Santorum because Rick is about dictating what families should do, and he's not at all about family values. And he's about, pro-government, growing the government, and kind of everything that conservatism is not supposed to stand for. So, if there's anything I think that is such a good indication of a conservative presidential candidate not being for true family values, it's a member of his own family coming out against him. So, sticking with the family values theme, gay marriage is a huge part of the social conservative platform. Now, social conservatives seem to argue that gay marriage is like evil and the devil, but I think it's kind of really well aligned with social conservatism. And that's because, gay marriage is all about committed relationships and monogamy. And, people not living in sin. And that seems really well aligned to me with the the social conservative paradigm. Supporting gay marriage doesn't mean that you agree with the homosexual lifestyle or anything like that. It just means that, you want to foster committed monogamous relationships. That's really what it means. And that's why I think that gay marriage is actually this sort of hidden, sort of untapped well of social conservatism. And I don't think social conservatives should be against it. They should actually be for gay marriage as a way to sort of, legitimize a lifestyle and foster and promote, commitment and monogamy and that kind of thing. So, again, family values starts with valuing families, and that's kind of where it starts and ends. And I'll be right back with that, and actually more on that at mandewilkes.com. But I will be right back. Welcome back to On the Spot. I'm Mande Wilkes. You hear me talk pretty much every week about the war on war that I've declared. These endless wars, these wars with no end date, no mission, no strategy, these wars are bankrupting our country. Not to mention all the thousands and thousands and thousands of innocent lives that are lost. But worst of all is that we're giving these countries, these unstable countries, the weapons that they use decades later to fight against us. This is what happened with Afghanistan in the 1970s. America, during the détente with Russia, took all of Russia's weapons and sold it to Afghanistan. And now, right now we're trying to fight against our own weapons, and it's really hard to do that. It doesn't make any sense. But you know what? I wouldn't even be talking about it if we had learned our lesson. But we haven't learned our lesson at all, because just a few days ago, the Obama administration agreed to sell $11 billion in military weapons to Iraq. Now, you say, well, what's the big deal? We're helping Iraq. Well, guess what? The Iraq Prime Minister Maliki said that he's not going to adhere to the American military's guidelines about what he has to do going forward. So he's kind of antagonizing America already. Already, the Iraqi Prime Minister, the Iraqi government is antagonizing America, doing almost exactly what Saddam Hussein did, putting Shiites and Sunnis against each other and creating huge unrest there. And what does America do? America goes and sells them $11 billion in weapons to one day, fight against us and use against us. It doesn't make any sense, but it doesn't stop there. That's the scary part. What else did we do just a few days ago? We authorized the sale of $30 billion. Yeah, $30 billion in fighter jets and other military weapons to Saudi Arabia. Now remember that 19 of the 21 terrorists came from Saudi Arabia. So we say we don't negotiate with terrorists. We say we don't tolerate countries who harbor terrorists, but clearly we do tolerate countries who harbor terrorists. And not only do we tolerate them, we arm them. We sell them the weapons that allow them to carry out terrorism all over the world. It's reckless, and I'm afraid it might be fatal one day in this country. Now, moving on for just a second to a local issue, voter ID has been talked about a lot in the past couple weeks. The Obama administration, the Justice Department, has overturned a South Carolina ruling that says that people have to show an ID in order to vote. Now, the Justice Department overturned that ruling, saying that it was going to disproportionately affect voting for black people, Hispanic people, poor people, people who don't have IDs. It doesn't seem like a big deal, and that's what I thought when I heard it too. But it actually turns out that something like 175, 180,000 people in South Carolina don't have IDs. So this is a real issue. Now, the Justice Department said, this could have racial implications and could disproportionately affect people of certain races. That's not why I'm against it. It might have that effect, and it might have that impact. And South Carolina legislators may be racist enough to have put it into place and enacted that law because of that. But what bothers me about it, and why I'm glad that that Obama's Justice Department overturned it, is because I don't understand why in South Carolina we need another law, another barrier to vote, just another law, period. It's really, really out of control. I don't know why it took the Justice Department, run by Democrats and leftists, to set South Carolina straight. South Carolina, a state ostensibly run by Republicans who don't want too many laws, who don't want additional restrictions and regulations and barriers and red tape. I don't understand why it took the Justice Department setting our state straight, our Republican legislators straight. We don't need any more laws, It's not about race. It's not about, making people vote and not vote. It's not about any kind of gerrymandering, anything like that. It's about stop with the laws, and we need to stop pretending once and for all like South Carolina legislators are Republican or conservative, because they haven't been that way in a long, long time. And on that topic, I'll be right back with Government Gone Wild. Welcome back. It's time for the Government Gone Wild segment of the week. Sometimes I think I could have a whole separate show called Government Gone Wild, because every week I have a really hard time narrowing down what I want to talk about on Government Gone Wild. There's just so much, because the government is so wild and so out of control and so overreaching. So this week we have some really, really good, good as in bad stuff. 2012, now that 2012 has kicked off, January 1st brought 40,000 new laws in America. 40,000 new laws in America kicked in January 1st, 2012. Among these laws, this is where it gets really crazy. In Illinois, people under 18 will have to wear seat belts when taking cabs for school-related purposes. That doesn't sound so crazy. But what about this? A California law will require gay and lesbian history to be taught in public schools. Opponents have filed initiatives to block the law, but so far it looks like it's going to stand. Imagine if that happened here, gay and lesbian history being required to be taught in public schools here. People would go crazy. Anyway, moving on. Golfers in Georgia have been driving their golf carts into traffic, apparently, so a new law will mandate that golf carts have a brake, a horn, and other safety requirements. I think this is one of the craziest ones. In Utah, happy hour is going to be banned starting this year. No more happy hour in Utah. No more drink specials. What else do we have? Ooh, New Hampshire Republicans have passed a law over governors' vetoes requiring girls to seek abortions to tell their parents first. I think we already have that here in South Carolina. What else? Sports coaches in Colorado will be required to sit players as young as 11 who have endured a head injury. Just so much, so many laws. In South Carolina, this is a law that's already existing. It's not new, but I think it absolutely deserves to be on Government Gone Wild. I saw somebody tweet about it. Actually, it was an editor from the Sun News tweeted that in South Carolina, it's illegal for a boy over the age of 16 to seduce a girl into having sex with him by deceitful promises of marriage. So basically, it's illegal and punishable by, I think, up to a year in jail for a man in the state to seduce a woman by, promising or implying that he's going to marry her. Really crazy. Government gone wild. Too many laws. So that was the 40,000 new laws kick in for 2012. Really outrageous. All right, moving on in Government Gone Wild. Cities are starting to crack down on yard sales. In Kansas is saying that too many yard sales are taking place and that the state of Kansas is missing out on tax revenue. Always goes back to tax revenue. So Kansas is limiting yard sales and even considering requiring yard sales to have a business license or business permit. All comes back to growing the budget, getting more taxes in so that it can grow the budget. Cracking down on garage sales, that's really out of control. Next thing in Government Gone Wild this week, you can be fined $25 if you joke about the national anthem, or if you make a parody of the national anthem, or if you say any kind of wrong word or miss a lyric in the national anthem. This is in I don't remember. I think this is in the state of Ohio. National anthem, there's this law that says, people have been making a parody, making too many jokes about the national anthem, substituting lyrics, that kind of thing. So now there's going to be a law, $25 if you mess up the national anthem in any way. Look, that is stomping on the spirit of the national anthem. I think that's what's so ironic to me about that particular law. The national anthem is about freedom, let freedom ring. Freedom of speech, our Constitution, remember that, stomping on the spirit of the national anthem, and not to mention the Constitution, by fining people for missing a lyric or making a parody of the national anthem. Really, really crazy. Hard to believe it's happening in America. All right, I will be right back. Welcome back to On the Spot. I want to talk for a little bit about these endless campaigns we have going on in this country. It seems like as soon as a campaign ends and there's an election, we're already moving on to the next election. I started noticing this with President Obama, who has a whole year to go during his term, and yet he's not really out there working for the country. He's not working for the people or for the voters. He's working to get votes. It's really ridiculous. I don't really blame President Obama because I see that all elected officials do it. It's really ridiculous. President Obama right now is, I think I read something in the Washington Post where he is campaigning so far, just in 2011, not even in the election year. 12% of his time was spent campaigning, even upwards of that, campaigning, raising money, fundraising, that kind of thing, not working for the voters. It's absolutely insane. This is one thing I think one side of term limits that we don't see is that, we talk about letting people have maybe 2 terms. Well, the problem with that is people are still out there campaigning during the time where they're supposed to be working for the people. Right now, we have so many people, running for Congress, running for all kinds of offices who have abandoned whatever office they're currently holding, because that's the thing about career politicians. They always want to use the office they're holding right now as a stepping stone to a higher office, and they spend time campaigning rather than representing the people. Pretty much, Michelle Bachmann did it. Where is she? Has she been voting for the people? I know she's dropped out now, but has she been voting for the people, in the House sessions, arguing on the House floor, any of that? No, she's been campaigning. Our own Governor Nikki Haley is, right now, I think in New Hampshire, campaigning for Governor Romney because, I think she probably wants a slot on his VP shortlist. So, just kind of ridiculous. The people not the people who are supposed to be elected to actually, work for the people spend most of their time or a huge chunk of their time in office campaigning for the next office they want to hold or campaigning to keep that office. doesn't make sense. It's really ineffective and inefficient, and I don't understand why we don't hear more about it. You know, if you think about it, President Obama has to spend, if you think about a whole year, he's basically going to be campaigning for a full year, if not more. That's 25% of his term that's going to be spent campaigning for what he wants to be a next term. Meanwhile, the country's, you know, down the toilet, the economy's down the toilet. Who's doing anything about that? Everybody is just campaigning for, you know, to keep office or to get in the next office. It's really crazy. I don't understand it. I think it's something that deserves a lot more attention, and it's a facet of term limits that I don't think gets enough attention, and really, you know, an ineffective and inefficient use of taxpayer money and taxpayer resources, again, in the name of taxpayers. That's the worst part of it. All right, I'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm hot and I'm bothered, and it's not just because you decided to turn me on in your living room this morning. This week I'm hot for Ron Paul, Libertarian from Texas, presidential candidate. Ron Paul this week came in third in Iowa. He didn't win, and he didn't even come in second, but he did something that I think is much more noteworthy, particularly in today's political climate. He completely swept the youth vote, the independent vote, and first-time voters. He got a huge majority of people just voting for the first time, independent voters and young voters under 40. That's a huge segment of the future of the party. You know, the future of the Republican Party, I don't think it's the Tea Party. The Tea Party has long since been hijacked by establishment Republicans, social conservative Republicans who saw the writing on the wall that that the Republican Party was kind of done for and dead, and renamed themselves, rebranded themselves the Tea Party. I don't think the Tea Party is the future of the Conservative Party. I think the future of the Conservative Party are those people supporting and voting for Ron Paul and giving Ron Paul such a huge surge in Iowa. Now, you know, Ron Paul, he's really polarizing. He's really controversial. Whether you love him or hate him, though, you can't deny that he's the only presidential contender right now with a plan. He's the only presidential contender right now under whose control the country would look different and be different. I mean, no more IRS, no more income tax, you know, no more April 15th, more take-home pay, no more crazy, you know, Department of this, Department of that, Department of such and such. No more of that. I mean, the country would look markedly, significantly different under a President Ron Paul. And like I said, maybe you don't agree with that. Maybe you don't agree with the way he changed things, but you have to agree that he would, to borrow Obama's famous phrase, change things. I mean, Ron Paul really would make things different, try to do things in a different way, the constitutional way, by the way. I think that's why Ron Paul is resonating so much with young voters and independent voters and first-time voters. I mean, to get somebody to be a first-time voter, that's really huge. You know, to get somebody to register to vote and to come out who's never voted. There are people that voting for Ron Paul who have never voted in 50, 60, 70 years. But he's his message has resonated so much with the American people, and I think with a certain very disenfranchised segment of the Conservative Party that had really turned against Republicans and kind of disengaged and disavowed the Republican Party. So you see Ron Paul supporters really, you know, bringing a resurgence to what it means to be conservative. So, you know, South Carolina votes in the presidential primary here on January 21st in just a couple of weeks. I'm really excited to see, you know, how Ron Paul is able to sweep the young vote again and the independent vote again. I think this is really the future of the Conservative Party, and I'm really excited to see what he does with it. And I hope here in South Carolina, I really worry that the social conservatives kind of eclipse the financial conservatives, the fiscal restraint part of the conservative platform. So I think this is a really good chance for South Carolina voters to kind of step up and say, you know, we're not just a bunch of, you know, hillbilly, gay-hating, you know, Neanderthals here in South Carolina. We're actually, you know, ahead of the curve and really forward-thinking. We're going to elect somebody like Ron Paul. That's what I'm really hoping happens on January 21st. I really hope it does. Very hopeful. What I saw coming out of Iowa, like I said, getting the youth vote, the independent vote, and the first-time vote, Ron Paul swept them all. Even though he came in third place, he swept all the votes that I think really matter. Of course, every vote counts, but there are some votes that really matter. The young vote matters. That's the future of the party. The independent vote now more than ever matters. First-time vote, that matters. Those votes matter. Ron Paul's getting those votes. And that's why I'm hot for Ron Paul this week. And I am bothered this week by the fact that this is going to come as a huge surprise, that America is exporting more oil than we're importing. I don't understand this. Doesn't that sound like it can't be true, right? That's what I thought when I heard it. I was shocked to find a CNBC report from December. It didn't get much press at all about the fact that America has been exporting more oil than it's been importing. You know, the media goes on, and elected officials and candidates for all kind of offices go on and on about energy independence and offshore drilling and everything. And the fact is, we're already energy independent. We already have that. Now, this is a really, I'll go into the details of the CNBC report in a minute, but this is a really big deal right now, especially because Iran is threatening America to close the Strait of Hormuz because America has imposed economic sanctions on Iran for their nuclear bomb. So Iran's basically saying, you know, you threaten us, you sanction us, we're going to sanction you, we're going to hurt your oil supply, raise your gas prices. You know, the thing with that is it's kind of a bluff, and we can call Iran on that bluff because guess what? We have plenty of oil, more oil here than we even need right now. It's, you know, America is bringing in all this oil from Mideastern countries, bringing in Mideastern oil, and we have oil right here that we're already drilling and already refining, and we're sending it to Europe and you know, England, and it doesn't make sense to me. Why are we drilling and refining oil here, sending it overseas, and then bringing in foreign oil from the Mideast, from unstable countries, financing terrorism? You know, we could be not only independent in terms of energy, but we could be much safer if right now it would be simple. Today, we could be independent from an energy standpoint today. We could have energy independence today, just a simple executive order that we stop exporting our oil and keep our oil here that we have, that we're already drilling and refining, and you know, just use that oil and stop giving it to the Europeans. Meanwhile, we're taking the Mideastern oil. It doesn't make any sense. So, you know, we're already energy independent. We're just not using it. Look up that CNBC report. I think you'll be shocked. I certainly was. All right, that's it for this week's show. Next week, same time, same place. Keep turning me on, and I'll keep turning you on. I'm Mande Wilkes. Go to mandewilkes.com.